Title blocks are always placed in sheet layers, so I'm going to go ahead and make this lesson 2.2 the active sheet layer in my document, and then I'm going to zoom out so I can see the full page. So over here in the Dims and Notes tool set, we have this icon right here for Title Block Border tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the title block border style. Right now it's currently set to unstyle, but we're going to go ahead and use some of the Vectorworks styles that they've created for title blocks. So I'll just click on that drop down menu. And then you can see down here under the Vectorworks libraries that I have 3 different files that I can go to looking for an option that I prefer. So I have the ASME title blocks. I also have simple title blocks and then standard title blocks. None of these are going to be a perfect fit, so play around and see which one you prefer the best. Today I'm going to go ahead and just use the sample title block 1. So then once my mouse is back here to my sheet layer, you can see that I'm getting the outline of what my title block would look like, and it's only going to position that title block to the center of the page regardless of where I click. So just click once in your document and then you have a title block. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the modes up here for the title block border tool. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just delete the title block that we've already added to the file and go back over this first mode again. So this first mode is the single point insertion mode. And that means that with one click anywhere on this sheet layer, it's going to add the title block. So let's delete that and look at the second mode. The second mode is a 2-click operation, and you can see that because there are 2 red dots up there in the icon for that. And so the first dot is the insertion point of that title block, and then the second click, that's going to be the rotation of the title block. So there are not any cases that I can think of in which I would prefer to have a title block border on a diagonal. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and go back over here to the first mode. The other set of modes that you have up here is this first option for single page paper mode. That's the one that I always use. Its neighbor right here is the multiple paper pages mode. I've never used that. So the 2 modes that I recommend that you use for the title block border tool are going to be this first single point insertion mode, as well as the single paper page mode. And then when you add that title block border style to your sheet layer, make sure that you click once, and then you come and you get the selection tool so that you've exited out of the title block border tool. The reason being is that it's easy to go ahead and click more than once with the title block border tool. And then let me show you what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect everything on that sheet layer. Then I'm going to come up here to edit and select all, and notice that there are 2 title block border objects selected up here. So what I've seen is that when you come and you start working with the title block manager over here, and you start updating the information that goes into the title block, it doesn't look like it's actually updating, and that's because there's usually multiple title block borders stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead and just click off into the drawing area, click on that title block border, delete one of them, and then let's go ahead and verify that I only have 1 title block border on this sheet layer, and I do, so I should be good to go. Let's zoom in and look at this. Title blocks get linked to fields in your document, and so automatically this title block has given me the title of lesson 2.2, and that's because the title is specifically linked to whatever it is that I have named my sheet layer over here. So sheet title lesson 2.2 shows up over here on the title block as lesson 2.2. If I want to make changes to any of the other fields that are over here, I can simply come over here to the object info palette for the title block border, click on title block manager. When you're working with a title block, the 2 most important panes to pay attention to are going to be either project data or sheet data. And project data is anything that's going to stay consistent for the whole entire project. For example, for project name, I would put in your client right there. Your client is not going to change. It's going to be consistent throughout your project. The address of the garden site is also not going to change. So these things are consistent. Project date is going to be the start date of the project. But for this specific drawing where we're going to try to change drawn by as well as the date, these are sheet specific. And so that's going to be found under the sheet data pane right there. And then you can see that I can make changes to all sorts of things over here. Over here, and we can change the date. So let's say I'm working on this on a Saturday, but the client's really not going to see it until Monday. So I might decide to make that the 11th instead. Additional options are going to be located by clicking this next button. And so here's where we can get the drawn by for this one. So I'm just going to put my initials in there and then click done. And then it'll go ahead and it will update those for me. So let's go back in there and see if we can find the drawing number field. There we go. It's right above the drawn by. So this is only going to be a one-page document. So I'll just put in a 1 and click OK. And then, of course, where it says CAD file name, it's giving me the name of my actual Vectorworks document right there. So we won't want to make any changes to that. So let's take a quick look over here at the object info palette for our title block border. And I think the main thing that I want you to see is that there's a difference between the title block border settings and the title block manager. So far we've been making all of our edits over here using the title block manager. If you have multiple sheet layers and multiple title blocks in your file, if you make your edits through title block manager, that will update everything in the file. If you go through title block border settings, that will only edit the individual title block that you have selected. So to get started, I would recommend just get in the habit of using the title block manager to make your edits to your title block. But do know that you can change individual title blocks. And in fact, if I click on that title block border setting, you're going to see they look really similar to each other. The options are a little bit different, but they are pretty similar. Also worth noting is that, remember we talked about the sheet data versus the project data? You can go ahead and use either of these buttons as a shortcut for entering the title block manager, and this is automatically going to open it up to the sheet data pane. Moving forward, all of the lessons and the projects should include a title block.